So yeah, welcome to the second of these community perspective webinars. I really want to just get out of the way and let you learn from Ray and the team behind that are doing the project, because I think understanding their perspectives in this is a really unique thing that we can bring together and build community through these webinars. So I'll just spend a couple minutes introducing the background a tiny bit. We have a small lab in Puyallup at the WSU Research and Extension Center, and we focus on urban tree health. We've focused on a lot of different projects involving red cedar and maple, and lately sword ferns. But um, we are really, there's still a lot to be learned about red cedar, so we're excited to share a bit of what's happening today. You met on this call. We've got Zay, Zarina, Andrew, and Nelson. Also on our team, we have a PhD student named Taylor and Alexia, who's another full-time technician. And then some great alumni. I see Joel has joined from University of Puget Sound, so I'll just shout out that Naomi's a University of Puget Sound student who's alumni. Hi, Joel. Um, but yeah, today we're going to hear from Ray and the team about this Red Cedar Park study that we've coordinated with them to build. This is kind of where it stands. We've been using iNaturalist to document red cedars throughout the park, throughout Point Defiance. Um, and we'll talk a bit more about this as we go. Um, but I just want to say from the start, we kind of approached Parks Tacoma with this idea, but the project has been shaped by the people that you'll hear from today. There was questions that we weren't really investigating until these guys suggested, like, hey, why don't we have a question about baby red cedar trees, for example? And so I'd like to think that this project was really co-designed by the folks that you'll hear from today and then us. Um, and we're kind of trying to repeat this process now um, with Madrones in Point Defiance, and also expand this project. You'll see that now it says Tacoma. We'd like to expand it to other regions. So we have a Western Red Cedar Park study for Seattle and a Western Red Cedar Park study for Portland. But we're still in the process of like getting volunteers as committed as the team that you'll hear from today. I do want to just give the big picture on Point Defiance for a second. We um, we've been looking at red cedar throughout the region for a long time, and this slide's very outdated, but there's like 4,000 trees that have been added throughout from British Columbia all the way to California. And with each of these trees, there's a GPS point. And so we can extract data like climate data and soils data and topography, like the slope and the aspect and the direction it's facing from all of these trees that are shared. But we've been really interested in urban heat lately. And so we started looking at Tacoma, and Tacoma has this urban heat map that essentially identifies urban heat islands. Like the areas that are the darkest on this map are the areas that are the hottest, or experience the most disparity when we have a heat wave, like they're burdened the most by urban heat. But you can see that Point Defiance is basically transparent. It's like the coolest, temperature-wise, the coolest part of Tacoma. And so through this project, we've been kind of interested in looking at the health of red cedar in these different heat areas, but we didn't have very many trees from the cool parts of Tacoma until we started measuring trees in Point Defiance. So this is kind of where we were in 2013. All these dots are different trees that were shared through Tacoma. And then here's where we were at the end of last year. You can see that there's just more than 1,000 trees have been added in the coldest part of Tacoma. And that's been really helpful for these analyses. So we've been looking at whether there's a relationship with with heat and tree health. And it does look like the trees that are unhealthy tend to be at hotter parts of Tacoma, where the trees that are healthy tend to be in the cooler parts of Tacoma. So With this, we, kind of looked at these relationships. And before I get there, I'll just again show um, when we didn't have any data that included the point defiance data, um, a lot of our observations were skewed to the right. But with the point defiance data, we were able to capture all these observations at much colder temperatures. So it just added a lot more to the whole story of Tacoma. And one thing we can say is that there is a link between tree health and temperature, or there's evidence for a relationship. And the hotter you get in Tacoma, the more likely you are to find an unhealthy red cedar tree. And so knowing that, we were, you know, really interested, okay, if red cedar is vulnerable to heat, and we know Point Defiance is the coolest point, if we're going to find red cedar in the future, assuming that, the planet keeps warming and heat continues to be an issue for our trees, then we're going to find the only healthy red cedar in the future are going to be in these cool areas. And so we should start monitoring those areas now and documenting them. We know red cedar is so important. Um, and if future generations are going to get to experience big old red cedars and urban heat is a factor, then most likely those future generations are going to have to go to places like Point Defiance to experience those red cedars. And so that was sort of the premise to like, okay, let's start monitoring the red cedars in Point Defiance now. And let's start tracking them so we know how they're doing and we can watch them over time and have, as Ray will tell you, this amazing little place to study red cedar um, while we can, right? So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ray.
So again, I'm Ray Lepore, and here we go. And so I'm a park watch dude at Point Defiance Park. So what does that mean? There we go. There we go. I'm sure you all heard about Point Defiance Park. And if you haven't, it's a pretty cool place. So this is a picture of it. And there's 600 acres of old growth forest sticking out in the sound. And it's an amazing place, just a truly amazing place. It's full of western hemlocks and Douglas firs, ancient trees, 500 years old, many of them. And it's full of wildlife and so of course western red cedars, excuse me, can't forget them. Anyhow, so I volunteer there, and the number of us that are here today, we're volunteers in the Park Watch group. So they've got a well-organized, over 100 people that are active Park Watch, like a neighborhood watch group. And we were out there walking the trails and the roads and just keeping an eye on things. So that's really kind of what it's all about is well, it's a park that needs protected. Plus, it's a park that a lot of people sneak into and camp. So they're always looking for things like that. They want us to find dogs running loose, all the things that people like to do when they're away from home, they do in the park. And so we keep an eye on that. Some of us, though, thought, maybe there's more to this than just walking around the park looking for trouble. And so we started asking about, science projects or whatever else that we might do, removing invasive species, those kind of things. And so we started thinking along those lines. Here is a picture, a map, and you can see all the yellow and blue and tan colored things. Those are trails and roads. And our group well, I'll come back to that. Our group has gone through the entire park now and have mapped all the cedars that are um, within within 10, 15 yards of either side of the trail, basically, or the road. So again, this is Pete, who was born in the park, behind one of the big trees, and he's been there ever since. He's about 85 years old now, and he's been around a long time in the park watch business, and he's the mainstay of the program. And but he's not part of our Forest Health Watch team, but he's certainly out there all the time doing all the things that we do as park watch people. I have to give a plug to Pete because he's a great guy, and we're all indebted to him for keeping the program going. So let's go back. So going back to Joey's comments, is Point Defiance because it's a cooler place? Are the trees there healthier than they are elsewhere? And so we started this project, and you saw this slide before. We've done 1,136 trees to date. And what did we do? Here they are, all of the trees, the green dots and the orange dots, all over the park. So, and you can see this is pretty much a trail and a road map when you get down to it. So we've been everywhere. And so we started this project August of 24, and the last cedars we did were just in this recent January. So going on more or less 18 months on the project. And we're not done yet, of course, because it's a long-term thing. Um, and It's been a great project. So, and that's everything we've done. So we went along to keep track of where we were, we ended up I had to mark it on the map so we knew where we had been. So that's basically the completed trail. Everything is done. There's a few white things that haven't been marked on the map yet, but they are done as well. So a little bit about what we did, and that is, here's the team, part of the team, of course. Um, so our job was to, first of all, tag the trees. So each one of these trees, at least, and most of them still have a metal tag on the tree, which with a number. So we can mark that the tree is located with its number, its GPS coordinates, and photographs of the tree. So that's the first thing we do. And then we measure the diameter of the tree at breast height using diameter tapes. So you wrap the tape around the tree and it tells you what the diameter is. And so that's, we've done this like obviously for a lot of trees. The other things we look at are the overall health of the tree. Does it look healthy? What's the canopy look like? Is it thinning? Does it look full? Is there branch dieback? And then of course, dieback from the top of the tree down, if you'll see if you'll look and see all the way at the top. A lot of the trees we can't see at the top because they're too tall, and they're surrounded in a deep forest by the rest of the trees. But you can see a lot of the trees. You can see it all the way to the top, and if it's dead at the top, we obviously mark that and estimate what kind of percentage of the tree is dying. So then we look at understory species. We look for cedar saplings. We look for evidence of animal damage, sapsucker holes on the trees, just a variety of things that are listed in the iNaturalist pull down, and we mark all that stuff and then record the information. So this is the happy band of this was actually done a year ago, probably December of 24. So the band, there were 5 or 6 of us at the time. We're now up to 24 people that are in the group. 14 of those just joined us, and they weren't part of the Cedar thing, but they're going to start us when we get to the Madrone project. So again, Joey came to the park and said, "Hey, I want to do this project," and I was sort of I was a squeaky wheel, wondering what else we could do with the park officials, and they came to me and said, "Would you like to do this project?" And I jumped on it and dragged a few people with me, and they weren't screaming. They were happy to come along, and it's been a good process ever since. So 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 what is this community science thing all about? Um, so that's really what we're here to talk about is the community science aspect here. And so these are the band members, some of the originals and some of the newer folks. Uh, None of us are actually, if you look here, that's Margaret right in the middle with the orange sleeves, red sleeves. She's actually a practicing scientist with the with the EPA up in Seattle, but she lives here in Tacoma near the park. And the rest of us were not practicing scientists at all. I mean, we took science courses. Some of us are science majors, but we did other things in our career. And many of us are retired. Probably the majority of us are retired, not all, but the ones that aren't are keeping us young, which is very helpful. Plus, they help us old people when we get into jams out in the woods, like we fall over a log and we need to be helped up and all that. So, but we're all staying in pretty good shape. So anyhow, we decided we wanted to do this, and we're just wanted to give back is what it amounts to. It's a perfect retirement job. We give something back and we get something in return, which is quite a few things, as a matter of fact. And we've gotten to know each other. We've become a lot of pretty good friends now. We like to hang out together. We've become the Redcedar Band, and many of us have nicknames for rock stars. That's due to Carl's idea. So we've got David Crosby, we've got um, Carlos Santana, Don Henley, we got Stevie Ray Vaughan. We got a number of folks. Oh, Blondie's in the group too. So we got a lot of people that have gotten a nickname. Um, it's been fun. It's been a team effort. It's been great for our mental and our physical health. And basic and one of the other aspects of this, and I could honestly say, is I think we've built community. You think of community science as scientists like Joey going out into the community and asking people to help them do their projects. And and that's obviously the most obvious aspect of community science, but we're finding that the science actually builds community. And that's pretty spectacular, we think. And it's really helped. It's obviously it helps us, but the world needs community these days. And so the more we can do that and the more science can help, I think the better off we'll all be. My opinion, of course, but I think it's a shared opinion. We have common cause and we're like minds in common cause is what it amounts to. So, and what else do I have here? So we brought this together. We did some science. Um, we joined hands and became a community, and we're having an impact on a greater good, on the greater good. And actually, another aspect of this that I haven't shared, talk about building our own community, but so I'll get a little passionate about this because Point Defiance is a refuge for a lot of us. We're there as often as we can be. And we've become a part of the Point Defiance Park community. And obviously that means the people that are associated with the park. But you hug a tree enough times, which we've done plenty of times now, when you're measuring these things and there's big ones and you got to reach around and you just develop a personal relationship with these things. And so we've become a part of the tree community out there and the overall natural community as well. So it's more than just us humans in our community, it's us humans becoming involved in the larger community that is this old growth forest. So, anyhow, that's what I have to say.